Hello, this is Miss FM, and this is our first binder video walkthrough. So parents and students, this is just going to help you kind of keep an idea of what should be in your binder. So in the front slidey pocket of our binder, we have our binder cover assignment. There should be a grade on the back of this that was turned in at the end of the first week of school. If they have no cover on the front, then it might be inside their first pocket. And then parents, you should see a little purple piece of paper. And one of the big things on this is the map guidelines. So this is kind of things that they're being graded on whenever they complete a map in class. And then there should be 8 dividers. As you can see, I've kind of made my own dividers. If your student has something like that, that is absolutely fine, so long as there are 8 and then each of them is labeled. So our first section is geography, colonization, and exploration. In this section, you'll see a half sheet of paper that's put in, going over our pegs: political, economic, geographic, and social, as well as definitions and examples. A great question for reviewing is, can you give an example from each category? The next paper you should see is a vocabulary worksheet. It'll have colonization on one side and geography on the other. The sentences should be complete, and each word should have a definition in it. Parents, you can just quickly quiz kids on the word. A better skill than just asking for the definition is ask them to use the word in a sentence. Next, we have the importance of geography. And this is a extra long sheet of paper here. And on one side, you will see where the students individually answered this reflective question: how does geography affect history? And then they got their classmates' answers. My summary is pretty long. They may only have one sentence, that's fine. But it's basically something along the lines of: geography affects history by deciding where people settle. Geographic barriers block movements, while natural resources draw people to specific places. Desire for natural resources has also led to wars. And the same question about geography affecting the world today. And then just a reflective answer to that as well. On the back of this is pretty important. So on the back here, they should have a map divided into regions. And then they should have notes for each region. Now, what we've done is we've outlined the region with the color that it matches. So the students need to know sort of some of the major points of each region. So for instance, the Atlantic coastal region, one of the things we talked about is that they're going to have a lot of lumber, but they are also going to have hard, rocky soil. And they're going to have a lot of harbors, which are good for parking your boat. And so for each region, they want to be able to identify some of the goods and bads of the region. They should also have their European exploration map, which shows the areas controlled by France, Spain, England, and unexplored, with notes at the bottom outlining that. Now, a lot of students try to kind of take the shortcut and just put gold, and glory for all 3 countries, but the reasons are slightly different for the different countries. So for instance, for God, for England, it really should be religious freedom. And then gold is Northwest Passage and resources. So notice how they're slightly different for each country, and that's a pretty important detail. On the back should be a series of questions which have been answered. Now, some of our students have our 1607 worksheet back and some do not. So if your child doesn't have theirs back yet, they'll receive it back tomorrow. On the front, they have questions, and they should have filled the number in order to answer the questions. And on the back is a series of test-style questions. So these are great things to go over with them as a student, especially the checking for understanding. This is pulled right off of a STAR test from previous years. So whenever you see a check your understanding kind of styled question where they have an A, B, C, D like this is going to be a STAR question. Anytime we have a question that has A, B, C, or D, it's from a previous STAR test. So we're just using those. We're not trying to make up our own. 1620 is the exact same thing, just about a different period. One thing you might also ask them is for each of these large numbers like this, these are called the hot dates. These are their 6 must memorize dates for the year. And for each date, we ask them to memorize the date, what happened, and why it's important. So for like 1607, founding of Jamestown, first permanent settlement. And then for 1620, it's the Mayflower Compact, and it's a cornerstone of democracy. Finally, your child's going to have a half a page. Their page will either have numbers or no numbers, depending on what level class they're in. This is a very important studying tool. On the test, which will be on Thursday, they're going to have a map that looks just like this and has numbers floating in it. And then the question on the test will say something like, what difficulties were faced by people living in region number 1? You have to be able to look at the number, identify the region, and tell me what the hardship is. So that's an excellent study tool for them. They should have a mercantilism page. We completed this today in class. There's questions on the bottom. We talked about the process of mercantilism. This is what we did with the trail mix activity. So you can ask them how the trail mix shows mercantilism. How the trail mix showed mercantilism. And finally, not every class has this yet, but every class will be getting this tomorrow. This is our unit page that we're going to be using to help review for our test. Tomorrow afternoon, there will be a video of this unit page where I literally will fill out the entire page in the video as a study tool. So this is where our binder should be at right now. Thank you.